La Prairie originally.
You bet. The game that you can remember back, Vic, we were doing in Toronto when Stevie Brown was playing against David Smith in the semi-final of the World Curling Championships, and I think it was one of the funniest little things I've seen in the game is that poor Stevie was down a point. He was trying desperately to get something in play, end after end after end after end, and David Smith, as they can do so well, were peeling and peeling and peeling, and we got to the 10th end, and Stevie had nowhere to hide with a stone, and he put his hat down. He walked up to the front, put his hat down, and indicated, "Let's draw around this here." And it was kind of cute. He's also, a tremendous student. Stevie Brown is his daughter Erica is probably, in my opinion, the best young female curler in the United States. There's no question about that. They lost the finals, actually. She's still a junior. She lost the finals to come here to Maymar Gamel. She was playing third for Lisa Schoenberg, and they lost in the finals. And then Erica was also had our team in Scotland at the World Championships. Now, the whole family is tremendously dedicated to the game of curling, and Steve certainly knows how to play. He throws up a corner guard, as you can see. So, with the advantage of last stone.
And of course, Erica Brown and Steve Brown had teams in a bonspiel I was in Bern in January. And actually in Grindelwald, sorry, and Erica did Steve one better. It was an open bonspiel, men's or ladies teams, and she made it to the semifinals, the highest placing ever of a ladies team, and Steve didn't make the playoffs, so Steve had to sit there and cheer on Erica. She's played a lot of very good games this year.
That would make the supper hour a little quiet, don't you think?
That's right.
How's your game, Dad? Never mind, just eat up.
That's right. Yeah.
The U.S. second is 46-year-old George Godfrey.
Kevin Martin, you gotta like what we saw at the Brier. We saw it on terrific conditions. He was able to play. If you go to the Jeff Stoughton-Martin game, he got the 2 points in the first end, and he just ran for Jeff Stoughton, who I understand has just won the Canadian mix. And congratulations, Jeff. I'm sure at the first part of the mix, it was hard to maybe get yourself into it after playing a tremendous Brier. But congratulations to Jeff Stoughton and his team for their national victory at the Canadian mixed.
Second, is it not? Is that his second Canadian mixed?
Yeah, it is a second, right. Gee, I thought for a minute you were trying to tell me he came second.
No.
Quit scaring me, Victor.
Sorry about that. No.
Kevin Martin, you have, as I mentioned, you have to like what we've seen. I mean, he can do it all. He's not afraid to mix it up, and when he does get control, I haven't seen many teams, run rocks any better than they did in Hamilton.
I think they'll keep it fairly wide open. I always like to play the draw after the opening ceremonies, and these teams have had to wait that extra few hours to come out and play, so they'll probably keep it open for the first little while, make sure they get the feel of the ice again.
Would the ice be better at this stage of the day, do you think?
Well, it's interesting to hear Linda say that she likes to play that opening draw. I a lot of curlers like to maybe get it to sit that particular, just because sometimes the ice you can have problems with an opening draw because of the number of participants in the opening ceremonies. But I think you'll find that it was fine the last draw, and the reason, of course, it got the temperature in this building down a little bit, and I anticipate it being fine this draw. Hopefully, as I say, as Linda mentioned, as we go through the week and the building warms up a bit, we'll get a little bit more swing into the ice surface. And see Stevie indicating that let's throw up, so he's not waiting for anything. He's going to, try and get something going, and he's asked for another corner guard.
Yeah, corner.
Paul Pustovar.
The 39-year-old insurance agency owner.
Easy, it's there. It's there.
Got plenty.
Whoa, whoa. Right off. Fine.
If you're just joining us on this Saturday, let's update you on the scores in the first round. Here are the women's games that were played. Sweden opens with a big 11-3 win over Austria. Scotland came back to beat Denmark 6-3, and Julie Sutton 12-5 over Annick Mercier of Megève. In men's competition, David Smith of Perth, Scotland stole one in an extra end to beat France 6-5 and Sweden 8-6 over Denmark. This is the Canadian third. This is Kevin Park.
Oh, get off.
Kevin looking for the hit and roll to the rings here. The stone he's hitting is just outside the rings, coming into view, and just a little too thin. Well, this is a familiar for those viewers that may have been with us over the years.
Like the last time.
If you remember Stevie from Toronto, he holds the brush the other way. Don't see that very often. Once again, no backswing, and the delivery fingertips.
Bring it in. Go, let it curl, George. Nice shot. Bring it right in. Come on now. Yep. Hurry, got something. Hurry, bring it in. All the way now.
Well, caught something. It's taking the other turn, and they certainly don't want to put up a guard for Canada to come around, and that's what's happened.
Curl very much.
Well, it would have been fine, Linda, to stop out there, but as you as you mentioned, not so close to that center line. And
what are you looking at, Tony? What?
24-year-old Kevin Martin.
Line's good. Room. Lot of room. Right off. Warm. Stay off.
let's watch it closely. It's not that rock did not bend an inch. Now it's heavy, and that's maybe one reason, but because it has hack weight, that's enough weight to go to the hack.
Oh well.
May have seen that Kevin Martin's second world appearance. Well, he does have world appearance. This is his second, but one was at junior, and this is his first at a men's level.
It's with the big boys now. There's a big difference. A very big difference.
Stick her right in there, guys. Pretty normal.
Stevie. Always talking to his front end.
A couple nice gobs up there, pretty close to that rock that we could maybe use.
Once again, our viewers maybe remember that little brush, that little wooden-handled brush, hooking it over his arm.
You know,
Stevie also throws from what's called a tuck delivery with no backswing.
he owns Steve's curling shop. You'd think he could afford himself a new brush.
Oh, I know, he's attached to that.
I know.
You know, on bad days, he'll sleep with that.
Hurry, stop! Hurry now!
Yeah, well, if it's good to him, why not?
Hurry! All the way!
Just ticked it.
All the way! Take it out!
It looks like maybe that turn had a little more movement than the out turn, so we'll keep an eye later in the game if they continue to play around a center guard with that in turn.
We saw a little bit of that this afternoon when David Smith chose to go that way. That wasn't so long ago, was it, Linda?
It doesn't feel like very long ago. I don't know. I think we're going to become very attached to this part of the arena.
But we get to sleep in the mornings, and you get to your hair appointment. So.
Off! Right off. Hurry! Oh!
Call for the roll.
How far will it go? Will it duck itself in behind? Does halfway back of the tee line.
You remember the role he got against Jeff Stoughton in that game at the Briar. The only thing different there is he had last rock, and that a roll that two position out, I should say, out of stones the rest of the game.
Same weight. Same weight.
Just draw to the face of it. Very deliberate. Sets his feet in position from the up position. A lot of curlers do that. I think it's a good idea, as a matter of fact. Always approach the hack from the back. The imaginary line.
Oh, you got roll. Oh. Right on.
This is staying out.
Right on. Still there. Oh.
Well, a great roll. Set up a steal, Linda.
The first end is complete. We'll return with more from Winnipeg, the 1991 Canada Safeway World Curling Championships on TSN.
Hi, I'm Bob Vila. You know, for years I've been helping people turn average homes into their dream houses, like Dave and Marianne Corbett. They love this place, but they can still see room for improvement.
That's right, Bob. You know, for one thing, the kitchen, it's too dark.
Maybe some track lighting would help.
Oh, that's an idea.
Most people don't realize how easy it is to improve a home and increase its value with a few simple projects. And Time Life Books' Home Repair and Improvement series can guide you through practically any job. Call now for your first book, Kitchens and Bathrooms, for a free 15-day examination. Other books will follow about every other month, always on the same free trial basis. Keep only those you want. Cancel anytime. Remember, your home is your biggest investment. With a little help from Time Life Books, you can make sure it keeps on growing in value.
To examine kitchens and bathrooms free for 15 days, call 1-800-854-2200. Keep it and pay just $14.99 plus shipping and handling. You'll also get this Stanley tape measure free, so call 1-800-854-2200.
This is Jay. Jay doesn't say much when he's enjoying his McCain Super Fries. And he doesn't seem to care that Super Fries are cholesterol-free and low in saturated fats. McCain Super Fries, deep-fried flavor and crispness from your oven. For the strong, silent type.
Update for you, the men's game between Switzerland and Norway. Final stone for Eigil Ramsfeld of Oslo against Marcus Egler of Biel. Switzerland makes the hit and stick for 2, and Norway leads 2-0 quickly over Switzerland. The United States against Germany in a women's game. This the final stone for the USA. Germany will pick up their 2, and they lead 2-0. Here are all the scores now. Switzerland, Janet Hurlman-Omand, originally, as we say, from Sarnia, Ontario, now living in Zug, Switzerland, leading 1-0 over Dordy Nordby. Germany, Andrea Schopp scores 2 to lead Maymar Gemmel of Houston. Kevin Martin picks up his 1, and that's our feature game here in round 2. We updated you on Eigil Ramsfeld's pair to take the lead on Switzerland. And Finland, Jussi Juuso-Pavoniemi with 1 in the first, and it is 1-0.
Well, a terrific roll from the 12-foot stone right across the rings into a rock that was just covering the 4-foot. Linda set up the steal for Kevin Martin. Stevie Brown, just before we threw the rock, his last rock, had talked about throwing the same weight, and he definitely threw more weight and got no movement at all out of his last rock, so he slipped by it and gave up a single.
Now he's looking to put up corner guards. The one that was just removed by Canada was actually intended to be a corner guard, and it slipped into the rings. They're just ignoring the Canadian stone that is a biter on the other side of the house, and they're trying for the guards.
Yeah, Steve won't wait. He'll try to get something going. He has the last rock, and he tried it at last end. Kevin's going to defend it by running it off. You don't suppose he thinks he can run that 1-point hole, do you? Boy, I tell you, they peel rocks well, though.
The Canadian second is 25-year-old Dan Petrick, fourth-year commerce student at the University of Alberta.
Chance for Kevin to get the roll into the rings July too. So this is a good call. Get rid of that corner and
Just down normal here.
also get a chance to roll into the rings, which would you can lie to in this situation. You could set up a situation where you could force the USA to take their single.
The first stone for the Canadian third. This is Kevin Park.
It's pretty good curling, isn't it?
That was a good roll because that really forces the U.S. to go after this stone.
That was the trouble with the corner guard coming so deep, of course. It just is another example of how important your front ends are, Linda. When you ask for corner guards, you've got to get corner guards. It's the game for those that maybe don't do a lot of curling. The game is you play one shot to set up the possibility of playing another. So when the skip is asking for a rock out in front of the rings, off the center line, which we refer to as a corner guard, that's where you've got to put it. Otherwise, you change the style, the plan of the whole end. Nice roll.
And the shooter will hang on to the edge of the 12.
Next time we have a draw, Linda, of course, you'll put your trusty little watch into action.
I will do that. The ice was quite keen, and I think it keened up a little bit the last draw.
Looked like it, yeah.
Which is quite unusual that I thought maybe it'd be a little slow for the first draw, but it did get nice and keen.
Manitoba. TSN, we have a couple fans out in Nipawin. Terrific community, a great curling area. Nipawin, Minnedosa.
Third is 39-year-old Paul Pustovar.
Paul got this outside a wee bit. No movement.
Catches enough.
is a good indication into what, you know, how straight the ice is running. They're going to just try and push that up.
And that's a tough shot because they don't have a lot of rings to work with. If they chip it at all towards the boards, it certainly won't be in. Going to curl, it's just catching a very straight spot.
Plan B, let's go around it. It's one of those in-betweeners. There's too much weight to go around it, and it's not going to curl enough for the raise.
That's right. It ends up with a rock in the rings.
Okay.
Some of the crowd at Copps Coliseum in Hamilton during the Labatt Brier weren't too kind to Kevin Martin for his style of play, but he said he apologizes to nobody. He plays to win the game.
Oh, absolutely not. He shouldn't apologize to anyone. You know, when you walk on the ice surface, you're out there to win, and you play the game, you know, just to do that. And his style of protecting a lead, because they're so good at it, is absolutely what he should do. And that has nothing to do with rules or anything. I mean, and that's the rules. The change of rules is an absolutely whole different scenario. And Kevin Martin has to apologize for absolutely no one for the style of play. Just as did Pat Ryan didn't have to, you know, apologize to anyone. You play to win. It does show one thing, because we had wonderful ice in Hamilton. That the skill level of these players is so great, they can do anything, even when you get movement on the ice. Last one would have been heavy, eh? Last one would have been heavy.
This will be the final stone for Canada and Kevin Martin. Here in this second end, the U.S. with last rock after Canada stole one to get us going here in round number 2.
Let her bend if it will.
All right,
Can you let it bend?
hurry now. Let her curl if you can. Take it at the end. Whoa, 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 whoa.
What a great shot. It really wasn't a guard because it's not protecting the house, but it's something that the other team has to think about.
Oh, we could have let that one curl a little more, yeah. Not bad.
At least I got to draw weight now.
How much? Okay. Good? Keep it there. Good.
Stevie Brown is going to try and pick this out, get the blank. The other option, of course, would be to draw to the rings for one. The one thing you cannot let Kevin Martin do is get away from you. Very distinctive style, Linda. He really has a different style. He's just high on the toe, and his last motion is a little push with the fingers.
Gonna come over enough, just needs a corner. Oh boy, yeah, it was hold your breath time right there for Stevie Brown, as he does pick the Canadian stone off the edge of the 12 to blank the second end. Canada remains in front 1-0. We'll return to the Winnipeg Arena in just a minute. It's stumper time. who is the only rink to win back-to-back World Championships without losing one game. A single game back-to-back.
I think I know this one.
That's quite a record. I'm not sure I do.
No, we're a lot younger.
Mind you, I thought I knew the Earl Klink one, too.
Just don't say anything until you see the answer right.
That wouldn't be fair. I jumped in this afternoon with Igo Ramsdell. I should have realized it was Phil Strum. You know, I just, you know, I didn't think back that far.
Exchanging stones. Here in the third end, the second round game, Canada leading the U.S. 1-0. Igel Ramsfeld, the Norwegian champion, again, his 13th appearance at a World Curling Championship.
And three-time world champion. And it'll really be interesting to see if I was talking to the team earlier, not to Igel directly, but I talked to him as well. But I was talking to the whole team, and Sherlow, and I said, you know, do you think he can, you know, he can get himself up? Because one of the Igel's problems, being Linda, is really getting himself motivated. You know, as you know, Vic just mentioned, 13 times to the World Championship. Goodness gracious, it's a paid holiday, isn't it? Well, where are you going this year? Well, where are the World Championships? Where are you going for your holidays?
It's different than when you come from Canada. I know when we go to Bonspiels in Europe, the teams say, we'll see you at the World Championships. At least when I used to play, they would say that. And you just don't have that automatic answer. So many games to get there for Canada.
Right on. Right on. All the way on. All the way on. All the way on. Okay, it's all right.
So skip stones to come here in this third end of play. Canada lying 1, 12 foot, 9 o'clock.
In a nice situation for young Kevin Martin. Gets a chance to draw to the rings. Lie 2.
You know, we're seeing a lot of this at this World Championship, that no backswing.
No backswing, yeah. Something that actually the Canadian Curling Association studied a few years ago, took a look at it, and feel there's a few things. It's all legs. It's all legs, you know. If the ice stays nice and fast, then there is no problem. If the ice gets a little heavier, Vic, I think it can generate some problem. And then there's a feeling that there isn't kind of a, all sports have a, that backward fluid motion, and then the follow through. And that was kind of one of the reasons I think that they, we were seeing out on the ice surface here at the Briar, wherever we go, a multitude of different styles, and that's the way it's going to be. But when you teach something, you pick a program that you think is solid, and you teach it. You have to be consistent with it.
Very deliberate. Even the way he pinches the stone with his fingers, it's just sort of over it until he feels it's right, and then he clamps on.
That's because he uses those fingers in the release to a great extent, a very exaggerated little shot with the stone. It's dangerous, believe me. It's just a style that Steve has perfected to his degree, and to a great degree, I should say, I guess.
This will be the final stone for Canada, and again, a wide open kind of end for Kevin Martin. He leads 1-0. The United States, Steve Brown from Madison, Wisconsin with Last Rock.
That ran straight down the center.
And that allows Steve Brown now to possibly blank the end.
Let's get it over the line. Played one there with mine the first time.
44-year-old Steve Brown. We call him, and you introduced him last night as Little Steve Brown. And he
Little
is
Stevie Brown.
At 5'4", but certainly one of the nicest people you ever want to meet.
Oh, a terrific person. His whole family, they're really lovely family. Good kids.
It's one of the nice things about, for me anyway, and being involved in the telecast now and seeing these people for the 6th year, many of them. It's nice to make the acquaintances again. And you know, David Smith said, "Oh, here we go. Nice to see you a year in advance, and you know, a year later, well, that kind of thing." And Eigel Ramsfeld and Steve Brown. It's been a couple of years since we've seen him, and we saw him, of course, in Milwaukee. Will he roll out the shooter? No, he'll hang around, and he'll pick up his one to tie it 1-1. Now, a live update for you. The USA, Germany, as they play the third end in a 2-2 tie. This is the final stone for the former world champion. Curling championship. Norway 3-1 over Switzerland as they play the fourth. Germany, Andrea Schopp 5 to lead 7-2 over the United States. In men's play, Switzerland, Norway 2-2. Finland 2-0 over handicap of Germany. And Canada with Stevie Brown forced to take one in a 1-1 tie. As we go to the fourth end of play. And Kevin Martin from the Avonare Club in Edmonton will have Last Rock.
Kevin's asking for the corner guard, so he certainly wants to get something going, and he has advantage of Last Rock. Stevie Brown having hit and stuck with his last one.
And this is the second stone for the Canada lead. This is 30-year-old Don Bartlett, who's an inside station postal worker at Station L in Edmonton. And this is his delivery.
Oh, Vic, please, please.
Stop it.
Special delivery, maybe?
No, not even special, just a delivery.
That's a pretty nice looking delivery to me.
Yeah, it was. Very nice.
Let's not get carried away.
No.
Have our viewers across the country writing us pen letters.
Yes.
Poison pen letters, I should say.
George Godfrey. Interesting, the U.S. is another one of those rinks that had to come through the challenge round. That's something that Canada, I don't think, has ever faced, have they, in international competition, that challenge round?
I think only 1 year, back in, I think, around 75 or 76.
Is that right? Was it a disastrous year?
They could have been in that position had the situation, you know, been there at that time. But I don't think it can't happen, and it will happen someday for sure.
The challenge round this past year, though, involved teams, such as Australia. I know the Australians came through Vancouver, and you spent some time with them, and they were in Ottawa. Played with the Merklingers, against the Merklingers, I think, and the Japanese were there again.
It's going to be interesting with the Olympic. As far as I know, there's going to be the Olympic playoff between Japan, New Zealand, and Australia, because we've talked a little bit about the Olympics. They must have 3 continents represented, so there'll be a top 6 finishers from here. There'll be France, because they are the host nation. Plus, there will be 1 from the Pacific Rim, and Japan, New Zealand, and Australia will, I understand, play off. The problem is they have to decide where to play off. Their seasons are opposite, because in the Southern Hemisphere they play from April to October, and of course in the Northern Hemisphere about September to March. So it's quite difficult for them to get together and try and play off for the challenge round. But we will see one of those teams in the Olympics.
And then they complicate all that by having no money.
Yeah, that's the problem. Yeah, it was quite an effort for Australia, Hugh Milliken and his team, to go to Norway last year to try and make it into the World Championships.
Well, there's what Kevin was looking for, the nose hit on a corner guard. So now a chance to duck around behind it. Now, we'll get a good look now to see whether we get any movement to the edges. This is, we'll tell the story. See how the little ice he's taking, about 1.5 feet, maybe 2 feet of ice. The in-turn come around.
From Dan Petrick.
Line's good, he says. Line's good. Will it break now, Linda? That's what we're looking for. Got it by. Oh, that's great curling. That's all that is. Is that any good, Lou?
Really nice shot.
Look at that.
It's about 23 seconds from hog line to where it stopped in the 12-foot. Nice and keen. Moved off the center area, slowed down, and came behind the guard.
Terrific example of how you set up a possibility of scoring 2 by utilizing a corner guard, a rock covering the edge of the 8 and the 12-foot. Stevie thinks he can see a corner of it, and he can, but it's a very fine pick.
He wants to be sure he gets either the rock in the rings or the guard. He's trying for the rock in the house.
There's the first stone for the U.S. third, Paul Pustavar.
They saw it was going to rack, so they let it come up and hit enough of it so that it rolled to a position near the center area, because, of course, without last rock, the U.S. wants the play to be there, but Canada will just try to come around that guard.
Now, Kevin's looking at maybe coming the other way. He'd like to come the other way if he, if he felt the ice would be, true for him, because by coming this way, if he doesn't get the movement, he sets the rocks too close together. He walked over and took a little look at the in-turn, but obviously isn't as confident of the ice, because he would have to then move away from that center area, Linda. Out-turn draw.
By Kevin Park.
Line's good. Gotta rub. Hurry. Gotta be there, though. Hurry. Go hard. Line's good. Line on. Come on, get top 12. Come on. Go hard. Come on. Line's really good. Okay.
Just died. This gives Stevie Brown a chance to get the hit and roll across. Now, Kevin Martin got a good hit and roll on that first end, so a chance for the U.S. team.
Steve's cleaning away the little bit of corn that was put out when Kevin Martin swept the draw into the rings earlier.
Looking for the hit on this stone here and try and roll it across into this area right there and set up the potential steal. Didn't coming out. Now it gives Canada a chance, Dick.
That didn't roll very far,
no.
Considering how little of the rock it touched. I think maybe it was a little dead when it hit, because it didn't go very far at all.
I think you got to pick something up. Just, once it hits, if it don't have it, it scoots, and with it, it just sets pretty quick. If it hit real flat, just boom. Yeah, as I said, it only went a foot. Yeah.
They're talking exactly what Linda was talking about. It surprised all of us, and it certainly surprised them. It just kind of hit dead. He has a little, very little turn on his handle. This is a nose hit.
On the nose, yeah.
So it's another chance. He'll get, Pustavar will get, Dr. Stevie Brown will get another chance to roll in behind here with his first stone.
Opportunities that you may look back at and say, hey, we failed to take advantage of it.
Well, these are the kind of the little things, we've talked about it so many times, at the Briar and at the Scott Turnbull Hearts, and Linda, I'm sure, can cite you many examples of times where the little roll either set up a win or the games where you didn't get them, and
3-2.
as a result,
3-2, Jordan.
you didn't win it.
This will be the first stone for the U.S. skip, Steve Brown, as we play this fourth end of a 1-1 tie. Canada and the United States. Second round coverage here on TSN of these 91 World Curling Championships. Boy, yeah, he really gives it a flick, doesn't he, with his fingers?
Yeah, he does. Very pronounced flick. This is not going to move it
Right
up.
on. Right on.
Fact, it rolls the other way, and it will not hang around. It'll spin out to the top of the 12.
Kevin would like to promote this one straight back. The rocks are fairly close together, so he has to just come to the face of it, hit it dead on, and try and promote it into the 4-foot.
Normally you might think about playing like this, but the ice has been running so straight. Kevin has chosen, and probably rightly so, to try and push that one straight back, playing the raise.
Line's close. Line's good. Clean, hurry.
Kevin Martin and his first stone.
Line's close.
They said it had a lot of weight.
Ready with the one in the house. Hurry. Whoa, 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 whoa.
He had the right weight. He just didn't come enough for him.
Boy, oh boy. Go this way, Steve. Okay, do that, all right.
Trying to hear what Kevin has to say. He felt pretty good about the shot.
Yep, left.
Little discussion with the umpire. Well, yeah.
It's funny, it's almost as if you become a little paranoid when somebody brings out corn. You're just that more meticulous when you're cleaning up. No matter where that corn broom is, Steve Brown now makes sure that it's clean.
Well, if that one that one broom is bothering him, he'll have a great time against Sweden.
Bring out a vacuum.
I don't think it bothers Steve. He's played against corn. He's been around the game a long time. Some teams are paranoid, though.
Steve has to roll in so that he can force Canada to go after his rock.
No, didn't.
And a blank end we'll get from Mr. Martin.
Kevin Park, way out on the edge of the 12. Final stone, then, of this fourth end. Canada and skip Kevin Martin will throw it through, putting another blank on the board here in end number 4, and it remains a 1-1 tie, Canada and the United States. It's the second round of this 1991 Canada Safeway World Curling Championship, and we're at the arena in Winnipeg. As they play the fourth, 2-0, Finland leading. This the final stone for Andy Kapp and his rink from Tucson against Jussi Iso-Paavaniemi of Evinca, Finland. He'll need full 8 foot, trailing 2-0, playing 4. And Andy Kapp is right there. He'll pick up his 1, and it's 2-1, Finland still leading. Now women's play. USA against Germany. Germany exploded with 5 in the third to lead 7-2. This the final stone for Mayar Gimel, originally from Toronto. Last year's Canadian senior women's champion with the ring of Jill Greenwood will make the quiet takeout at the back of the 8-foot to pick up 1. It's now 7-3. Germany. Henry Schopp still in control. And in the other game, it remains 3-1. Norway leading Switzerland in women's competition after a blank in 4. 5 sheets in play here at the Winnipeg Arena. Second round coverage of the World Curling Championships on TSN.
Steady dash. Steady dash. 3. Wow. Wow. Good boy. Down over, down.
Well, we really haven't had anything in play to, to outline for you, to kind of talk about of any interest, other than the fact that both teams are prepared to play, the corner guard game and the offensive game, but so far the hitting has been pretty consistent, so we haven't really had anything in play. Stevie Brown looking for the center line guard.
Well, we wondered if Kevin Martin might try to run that 1-0 lead through.
No, both teams have made, attempts to get it going. It
just hasn't been there. Well, no, and then you miss the hits and rolls, and that doesn't allow you anything, does it?
Good, George. Boy.
I wanted to ask you about this. Is the cracks in the ice, they don't affect play, but is this from the opening ceremonies? Is that what happened, or is this in the making of the ice?
Well, what it is that when they drop the brine, they really cool the ice down, and then, it can crack like that. It doesn't affect the surface of the ice. Like it's just underneath the surface, so the pebbles on top of that. And,
now, will those cracks disappear when they...
No.
They'll just be there for the whole week. Yeah.
Hurry! They'll shave the ice and clean it tonight, and
the shooter spins across the top of the 12 and will stay in play. No, it just kisses the boards, and Stevie Brown takes it out.
He might even give you something there.
2-3.
Out in front, says the U.S. skip. Pustovar. We talked in round 1 about qualifying games, how many games a rink had to play to get here. Well, the United States probably as close as anybody to a Canadian type of qualification process. They had to play 23 games to get here, whereas Kevin Martin had to play 31. But they have their country divided up into regions as well, and that's why you have a Mayar Gimel from Houston, Texas, who won from down there, and they have a Pacific Coast zone that includes California, Los Angeles. I think there's even a Hawaii represented in there, but I find that hard to believe.
Maybe that's where we should go, Linda.
Well, actually, I was trying, and we couldn't quite get a Bondsfield going over there.
Live update for you now. Switzerland and Norway as they play the 5th. 3-2 Norway leading. This is the final stone for the Swiss skip. This is Marcus Egger of Biel. And it's a draw for 2. He needs full 12. And the Swiss skip is right there, and he'll take a 4-3 lead over Eigil Ramsfeld of Oslo after 5 ends of play.
Steve's decided it's too late in the end to keep putting up the guard. He's calling for the rock into the side of the 8-foot, the side away from the red stone that's in front of the rings.
Paul Pustovar.
Well, they changed back to the in-turn. They tapped the ice on the side of the 8-foot and then called the play back to the center.
They tricked you, didn't they, Linda?
They did.
Yeah, they do that to us all the time. He's playing one more in front. Just wants it tight, though. If he needs it too far out, Kevin will go around it. He's going to, I wouldn't be surprised if he is. He's going to go around this, and it's too deep. And it's too high, I should say. It's, these are what we call percentages in curling, you know. You get a chance to, you play it tight, try and get around it. If you happen to chip it, it's no big deal.
A few feet more than last
you set up the 2 corner guard situation. But it's a good opportunity, you know. Kevin Park, Canada with 3 shots left. Canada with last rock.
And we saw this path earlier. This is where they had the good hit and roll earlier in the game, and Steve Brown tried to come in here. It will come in as long as you have the perfect draw weight.
Line's good. A little tight. Yep. Back. On the wing. What? Right. Room. Yep. On the wing. On the wing. Hurry. On the wing.
On check. Okay.
Yep. Yeah. Come on. Hurry. Take your ticket. Take your ticket. Come on.
Take the tickets, fine, sure.
Okay. All right.
Very close.
There's good communication between the sweepers and the person in the house, though. You could hear the sweepers say that it was a little heavy. So they decided to allow it to tick. If it had been just the perfect weight, they might have swept it as hard as they could to try and get it by. But they played the tick, and so they're forcing to play away from that guard now.
They don't want, in that case, and I think it's worth expanding on, Linda, is that if it is a little heavy, as the sweepers have indicated, and now you sweep it, you get it by, but it ends up behind the tee line. Now it works against you, as the Americans would then have had a chance to come down and sit on top of it. And so the tick in that case, because of the little extra weight on the stone, is a better shot. In going around that center line stone, you're fine at top 12-foot, you're fine at top 8-foot, you're fine at full 8-foot, top 4-foot. But once you get back behind that button area, now the stone all of a sudden works against you. Let's not forget we're dealing with the best in the world at their sport, so they'll make those come-arounds and those freezes and rocks that are behind the button.
Steve Brown and his first stone here in the 5th end of a 1-1 tie with Canada.
Chance for Kevin to get the hit and roll behind the corner, behind the center line guard. He got one in the first end and set up a steal. Can he get one in this end to set up a potential 2?
Missed opportunities by both rinks when they had the chances in the previous end for hits and rolls. Just some of the crowd on hand here at the Winnipeg Arena, some 11,000 for this second draw. They had more for the opening draw, closer to 13,000.
Clean. Just clean. Clean.
Pretty nice crowd, though, 11,000.
Yeah, it's wonderful.
Okay.
That's 11,000 here and 11,000 at the Hog Line Inn.
That's right. Now you can see the, what is the Winnipeg Arena seat for Jets games? About 15? Something
It's around
like that?
15.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I think that we've lost about 2,000 seats because of the press bench and that type of thing.
Yeah. It's a tough, with the World Curling Championships here, it's a tough way to end the NHL season for the Jets. They've got to make the playoffs on the road.
They lost a tough game last night in Vancouver.
Vancouver,
To the
yeah.
Canucks. Nice game for Vancouver, and not so nice for Winnipeg.
That game, of course, was seen on TSN. All right, the rollover. Now the shooter, it'll spin too far, hit it too thinly, and it'll be an opportunity here to throw another blank, unless he's looking for a little split here. Maybe can he wick it in and get the pick up two here, do you think, or is it too wide?
It's humanly impossible to split that in, I think, Vic.
It's the right distance in front of the rings, but it's so
too far
close
over,
to
yeah.
the boards that you'd be chipping it to the boards rather than into the rings.
That's the kind of shot that you'd make at the Royals.
Oh yeah, Tuesday night mixed. Yeah. Kevin Martin throws it through. My team has won every game I've missed so far in the last month. It remains tied 1-1 after 5. Canada and the U.S. The 1991 World Curling Championships from the Winnipeg Arena.
Hi, everybody. Welcome back to our TSN Control Center. I'm Jim Van Horn. Back to curling in just a moment. Let's update some of the NHL scores from this afternoon. A couple of very big games to tell you about. First of all, Boston hosting the Buffalo Sabres at the Garden. Buffalo first period action. Janney feeds the puck to Cam Neely. He slides it past Darcy Wakaluk. Easy goal there. 3-1 Bruins in the first. And then later in the period, Wakaluk comes way out of his goal, but he clears the puck right to Jeff Lazaro. He has the empty net. He scores, and Boston leads it by a 4-2 after one. In the second period, Petri Skriko and Bob Sweeney score, and they go on to win it. Boston does this one by a score of 6-3. Now let's pick up the Rangers at Philadelphia. This is third period action. Flyers up by a score of 4-2. Brian Leach, and that is Rick Tocchet on the bench. As Gartner breaks into the zone, he passes the puck around behind the net. It comes out in front as he takes the check, and then here's some more action as the Philadelphia Flyers go on to defeat the New York Rangers in this one by a score of...
Oh, you guys are the ones who go the other end, not me. What do you think? Yeah, but we can start before that.
That's right. They're down here. They played 5, and
This one?
the home end, or the beginning end, is the end that you see. It's away from our media bench area in our broadcast
Clock's
location.
going now.
The U.S. lead, Wally Henry.
Another missed opportunity for Steve Brown last time when he rolled out. If he can try and make one of those rolls just perfectly, he can force Canada to try and take a point and maybe get some offense going. At this stage, after 5 ends, Steve Brown is the lowest on the sheet at 60%, and he needs to make a couple of those big shots.
Play it tight.
Play it tight. The indication there is to play it tight and maybe end up with the two... That's a good number. Yeah. Okay. The reason they play this tight, like to play it tight as opposed to have it sitting out in the open, you don't want to let the U.S. get a roll. If you just chip it, if you just at that point had chipped the stone and they both roll to the corners, then you end up with 2 corner guards. So it kind of sets the end for you.
behind the tee line, of course, the U.S. can draw down to it or even just draw down to the top of the 4-foot behind that guard.
Now, in front of the tee line, I would suspect it's the better shot, no?
Yeah, that's right. If you get it around the guard, as Linda says, and top of the 4-foot, it's a great shot.
Sweeping this for line, it's really curling. There's the split that Ray mentioned that Canada wouldn't have minded, so the U.S. didn't want that to
No, that's
happen.
for sure. Now it's Canada's in a terrific position.
Canada lying 1, back of the 8-foot.
For come around. They've tried a few shots down here and it goes so straight. But you can't cut the ice down too much because you're playing around an opposition stone. The guard in front of the rings belongs to the U.S. And you can see how straight this runs. It doesn't start to break till it gets to center.
Oh.
We're right here. Yep. Oh, that's right. Well, that's right. Yeah, I forgot about that.
There's, again, the problem where it's Canada's first game and they've forgotten the international sweeping rule where it's only the acting skip that can sweep behind the tee line.
Because Danny Petrick right there took it behind the tee line, and Steve Brown was right there to jump in it.
Well, that's right. Under the international rules, you have to, the front end has to move away from
So now what could Steve Brown do in that case? I mean,
well, he could hit him right in the mouth.
They can move it
drop
up
him on the spot.
A little high brooming here. That's right.
No,
I mean, is there any complaint? I mean,
no,
like
if it happened continually, it would be a complaint. Yeah. But in a situation like that, it's an honest mistake.
Of course, in Canada, the front end can sweep behind the tee line if they're following the rocks through.
Hey, Dano.
They can't stay in that position, though, Linda. If they're there, they must be sweeping. You can't just hover over top of it
and block somebody out.
That's right. That's caused over the years a number of little solid body checks. Pardon me.
Get out of my face.
This is a terrific opportunity for Canada. They can get one sunk behind this stone, this U.S. stone, corner guard. They're lying 1, drawing to lie 2. So there's a lot of movement in this sheet, and it really is moving.
In this particular spot.
To the edges, and that
really
spot, yeah.
Moving. They're having trouble with that out turn down center, but this in turn does move.
Straight trade. Stay right there.
Straight trade. The other possibility, if it does stay out on the outside a little bit, you make the doubles there. Watch the double, he says. Watch the double.
There's one. Just a corner. No, it'll drive it by.
Well, in contrast to no backswing, there's a big backswing. The rock well out in front, almost pulling the curler.
Look how low his hand is on the brush. That's very unusual for the hand to be that close to the ice on the brush.
Very unusual that the brush is turned that way as well.
Bristles down.
Yeah.
It nearly picks up the 2, but just gets it by. That stone, Canadian stone at the back of the 12.
This one isn't catching the movement as much. Starting to go now.
Dan Petrick and his
Well, look at it go sideways there, Linda. At the very end, it just made a little move. This is setting up to be a good end for Kevin Martin. Front stones, that's what front stones can generate. This kind of play.
He's going after it.
Saw him indicate the corner hit and the roll across.
Paul Pustovar.
Now watch Paul. He has this fingertip grip. No backswing to speak of. Just on his hits. And then the little fingertip grip and a little bit of a push as well. He's close here. What a good shot this is. Look at this here.
Right up on top, right up on top. Yes, that's the way to make two. From one side of the 12-foot to the other.
Thank you, thank you.
That really was a great shot. They had to wait for it so long to make its move. Sweeping it a little bit now to try and hold it straight. Catch the corner that they can see. Look at it, just gets by the guard. And it rolls all the way across. Hits the top of the rock but pushes it back enough.
Kevin Park. And the first stone for the Canadian third here in the sixth. A 1-1 tie, Canada and the United States.
Hard, 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 hard. Hard, never off. Hurry. Hard. Hard. Hard.
Good aggressive call by Kevin Martin. He disregarded the stone that was in the U.S. stone at the back of the 12-foot at the 4 o'clock position and played the come around. He just ticked it, rolls into the open. But if he gets that by, then he sets up his deuce. Good call by Kevin.
Well, there's what's his thinking there that, hey, I've still got last rock. May as well try and generate something. And if I get into, have to bail myself out, last stone will do it for me.
Well, that's right. He has the advantage of last rock. The key is that he's making an offensive play for 2 points. That's what he's doing.
Right, right. Whoa. Right, right. Right, right. Right. Whoa, 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 whoa.
No roll, it'll sit right there.
Well, it's a pretty good shot, though. It forces Kevin to hit it. He can't leave it there. Real bad. Wee flop here. Wee flop, he says to Kevin Park. That's probably the best way. It's down normal. Down normal, meaning just a little bit less than our normal hitting weight, which is always pre-established in the practice sessions and previous games. You know what the normal weight is, and then you move up or down from there.
They're playing the intern because they would like to roll to the left as we look at it, behind that Yellowstone just in front of the rings.
Interesting, the front end of this Canadian team has really pulled their weight. They haven't let anybody down, curling in the 90s. Numbers like 70 and the 70s for Park and Martin aren't where they're expected to play.
Well, sometimes the difficulty level of the shot has to be taken into account. The leads are playing a little more wide open sometimes.
Oh, around that one. Yeah. It's either you hit it and stay right there. I think he's always got to hit and move. Yeah. Oh, it curls so hard there.
The intern. Yeah. Just come around his corner. I mean, it's going to leave him that flop, but I don't know what else we're going to do. We can't play that outward draw. That's not a very good percentage trying to hit right there either. He's going to just try and hit that flop back there. I mean, it gives us a raise, but...
Oh, he could split him in for 2, though, yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's a dangerous stone to leave there.
We get a little kiss, we might slip right in here.
Now, this really curls. Remember, he made it by that one by more than 6 inches, and it was buried.
It's going to go around
the... by... Yeah, you just stop full red.
Straight draw, right in mind.
Okay.
It's going to play around the corner.
Okay, 24 type.
Dangerous to leave that Canada stone there. Why?
Well, I'll tell you why. Even if he draws around the corner and gets it, and he said full red, even if he gets it a half 8, half 12 foot, Kevin Martin's just liable to walk up and play the stone back, his own stone right back to the 8 foot, and now he'll set up his deuce that way. He'll just ignore it. I think it's a little dangerous to maybe leave that stone. I know it's not an easy hit.
And didn't Paul Pustovar point that out? Didn't he suggest that? Or the other one is to split the rock in.
They both discussed. Well, no, I mean, Kevin Martin could split it in.
Yeah.
I'd make sure this was at least 8 foot if that's what they're doing coming around that card, because if they just bring it into the 12 foot, then Kevin Martin doesn't have very far to punch that red stone to make it shot rock.
Take a look. Got room. Take a look. Got room. Whoa, easy. Stay close. Stop now. Down. Straight. Whoa. Whoa.
He didn't make a good shot here.
Okay, good judge, guys.
It's a pretty good stone. That's the best you can do. But Kevin can still play this raise back. You know, I think that's what he might do, Linda. As a matter of fact, I'm sure that's what he's going to do.
He tried a shot similar to this a little earlier and was thought the line was good, but wasn't.
Okay, we talked about it. Now, this is almost as good as you can make this shot here. You can see there it is. But Kevin Martin is just ignoring it, and he's going to go right back up and play this stone, try and punch it back into this area here. And if he gets it there, you know, he's really in a good position to set up the deuce. That was the danger of leaving it there.
All right, the first stone for the Canadian skip, Kevin Martin.
Now, in fairness to Steve Brown, Kevin's got to make this, or, you know, Canada's going to be looking at 3. But this,
it's really hanging on that center
not
line.
curling.
Yep. Has to break hard.
Take the 6 back. Take the 6 back. Come on.
Turn.
And he raises it for a second stone.
Well, it's not obviously what he wanted. He wanted to push it into the 4 foot for shot rock, because now Stevie Brown can come in and draw in for to lie 2.
I'll see the out-turn draw or play in-turn raise.
Well, no, leave that there. It makes his draw tougher. The only thing is you might give him a double. Although if you leave it up here, it's going to go on that one probably. The way it is right now, he's got a tough shot for 2. He'd have to play that raise back. Even if you're
It didn't come over much, did it?
No.
It's a pretty good
I'd say about
opportunity.
right.
He mentioned this in-turn raise, but I think that's definitely not the shot, in my opinion.
Not wide ever, so.
You know, I think to play the out-turn draw into this area right in here, like so, and you really make Canada make
Either
a very
way, I don't know,
difficult
that's right here,
draw
that's
for their 1. Top 8 foot is even fine.
Safer.
Kind of like the raise.
Gee.
Shooter should stay there.
Well, yeah, but then you might
what?
could raise them.
Well, I can't raise them.
Well,
They have to throw a takeout with you over there.
right.
You know, no matter where I go here,
He doesn't get the chance for the double.
he's going to have a chance, right? The only way he isn't going to have a doubles back here, and then he's got to draw right to it. So this way I got a chance to...
Okay, well, the reason they're afraid is you can hear them talking. They're afraid of this shot here. If they don't get it buried, then you leave Canada the hit on this one and the possible double. So they've gone to the wide in-turn. They're going to come this way and try and get it here, so to avoid setting up that double. They talked about the raise. I don't like the raise, Linda, because then even you don't make it perfect, you open up the front of the house.
He doesn't have a lot of ice. Has
Maybe
he
it
called
is
the
the raise.
come around? I don't know.
Maybe it's
only about a foot of ice.
Yeah, he's definitely playing the raise, so he's decided to play the raise, I guess.
Well, the benefit of playing the in-turn was so that you couldn't set up a double. As long as the corner was hidden, there was no double. As soon as you play the raise, it's the same as coming around. You just don't know what angle you're going to promote that rock to, and there's still maybe the double takeout opportunity. Interesting call.
The raise is, if you push it into the open, you could set up the double. That's right. That's the trouble with it.
The final stone for the U.S. and Steve Brown. Canada with last rock.
Good weight. Whoa, 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 whoa.
The line looks good. A little bit of an angle.
Good shot. center a little bit, too. Okay. Kevin still has the out-turn draw. But the hole is smaller now.
That's right. Well, they swept this to try and hold the line. It had the weight. They didn't really mind this because, as Ray said, it rolls over to center a bit, makes the draw a little bit harder, and fits in the house for second shot.
It's a good shot by Stevie Brown, and it worked out well for him. I just think he could have accomplished the same thing with the straight draw down there. Now, there may be a reason why, you know, he didn't feel comfortable with the ice and the call of the ice for the draw, but, you know, and so many things can go wrong with those races, and that sometimes if you just hit them a little on the wrong angle, then maybe you do set up the possible double. So it worked out well for him, and Kevin Martin has to draw full to the 8-foot, almost a bit of the 4-foot for a single point.
Final stone of the 6th end in that 1-1 tie.
They're just keeping it clean. It looks like a good one.
Top 4-foot, and Kevin Martin will want to remember that draw weight. He may need it a little later. It's 2-1, and it has the flags flying here in Winnipeg. We go to the 7th, and the U.S. Steve Brown will have last draw.
Just looking at the statistics from the draw so far, Gray has talked a little bit about Eigel Ramsfell and the fact that in some years he hasn't been as motivated. Well, we don't know why this is, but after 5 ends, he was only curling 45%. It's not a good sign for the start of the event for Eigel. That one, I think,
too much weight.
it was a little bit wide, and he has lots of weight.
Well, Dan Petrick stood up as if he thought he may have missed it altogether. Canada line 1, T line biting the edge of the 8 at 9 o'clock. The U.S. second, George Godfrey.
Let her unwind. Good boy.
Roll it in.
These rocks are really coming too close to the rings because if Canada can hit these, they can actually roll in and sit two. They would like these corner guards to be about halfway, I would think, between the hog line and the house.
Too close to the rings, and now it puts Stevie Brown in a position where he's probably going to have to hit this front one as opposed to ignoring one stone and playing up a corner because Canada's now lying 2, and that's the kind of play that your front end, you know, they have to make those corner guards, put them in the right position, otherwise it changes the whole end around on you.
George Godfrey. Got a both, he does, and the shooter will roll into the top of the 4. For you, Switzerland, Norway, women's game in a 3-3 tie. Final stone for Dorothy Nordby of Oslo, the defending world women's champion. Lying 1, top 8 foot at about 9 o'clock, and this is the open draw for 2. Any piece of the rings will put Norway in the lead.
That's a good, solid team. We saw it last year, and they are very motivated. They would love very much to win again. So They'll be tough to beat. Whoever plays that team will have their hands full. She's a very competitive little girl.
So Norway with 2 in the 7th, now leading 5-3 over Janet Hurlemund Ormond of Zug, Switzerland.
Heavy dive, straight, 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 straight. 3 hard, come on, 3, 3 hard.
Well, we had a double, and now a hit and roll out. Kevin Martin will bring this rock right to the rings now. Not take any chances and let Steve Brown go around anything.
Well, this is what we wanted to know here in round 2. Who is the only ring to win back-to-back World Championships without losing one game? Ray, you thought you knew. Who is it?
I think it's Donnie Duguid.
I thought maybe Ron Northcutt. No, it is Donnie Duguid. Way to go, Ray. An excellent record. I couldn't even think of a lot of people that won back-to-back, so that's a good memory there, Ray.
That
Don also played with you in 1965, though, didn't he?
he certainly did. And why was that such a famous team, Vic?
Because if I remember correctly,
that was the first
Canadian rink to not win a World Championship.
to ever lose the World Championship.
Yeah, well, you're a good sport about it.
Does one have one? Any choice?
No choice, that's right. You mentioned it in front of Governor General, the Premier of Manitoba last night. Boy. Now we were talking about Don Duguid. Well, he was involved in the ceremonial first rock. Before this all began, the Honorable Ray Titian, His Excellency, the Governor General, putting the brush down for the man that won back-to-back championships without losing a single game, Don Duguid.
Double D. Horace Malachuk and Connie Laliberti, I believe. Is that not Connie?
is.
I think it is. Sweeping and brushing.
The ceremonial first stone to begin this 1991 Canada Safeway World Curling Championship.
Donnie came up with a little light on this. I said, you know, really, Donnie, drawing was your weakness. You should have maybe played the hits.
I told him that you were all over me. He said, look, I've never played lead. So, Don Duguid. And I know. His Excellency was saying, I put the brush down. What more can I do?
That's right. I did my part. Where were you when I really needed you? This crowd has been quiet. I think they're waiting for something, too, to happen. They'd like to get into it, and 2-1 here in the third period.
Yeah, that's right.
Well, earlier on the draw this afternoon, there was some very exciting shots from Sweden on the men's game. And the crowd was just going crazy over those shots. They would like something like that in this draw.
Steve Brown.
Hurry! Hurry! Hurry up!
Won't quite go.
Shooter hangs on to the edge of the 12. He picks up his one, gives back last rock. We're tied 2-2. We'll go to can number 8 when we come back.
It's the Beverly Hillbillies. They went from rags to riches, from the Ozarks to Rodeo Drive.
Come and listen to my story about a man named Ched. A poor mountaineer barely kept his family fed. And then one day he was shooting at some food, and up through the ground come a bubbling crude.
Oil, that is. That's where their money came from. Now these backwoods billionaires are available on video cassette from Columbia House Video Library. The first 3-episode cassette is yours for only $1.95. Examine it risk-free. Then get a new collector's cassette every 4 to 6 weeks. Keep only the ones you want. Each cassette contains 3 original uncut episodes of the Beverly Hillbillies, guaranteed to keep you chuckling with down-home humor.
He's a peasant just like the rest of you. You low-bred hussy! That didn't that's so
Get your credit card and call now, or mail check or money order to the address on your screen. Y'all call now, you hear?
What are you wearing at Janet's party next week, eh, Romeo? What else? My lucky shirt. Yeah. Be lucky she lets you in the door. Hi, Mom. Did you wash my stuff? It's Janet's party tonight.
What's this? Oh, your science experiment. Time you learn to do it yourself.
New Ultra Oxidol's intensified detergent plus bleach system goes beyond surface dirt to remove the dirt that causes odors. Oh, right.
I like your shirt.
Beyond Clean, Ultra Oxidol, the odor remover.
Late in the second round of the 1991 World Curling Championships, Norway leading Switzerland in women's play 5-3. Andrea Schaff of Germany picks up 1 in 7, leads the U.S. rink from Houston, Texas 8-3. Steve Brown picks up 1, now tied 2-2 with Kevin Martin of Edmonton. Heigl Ramsfeld, Switzerland. It's 3-2, Norway leading. And Finland, Jussi Juuso-Pavoniemi gets 1 in 7 to lead 3-2 over Germany.
You've certainly mastered that name, Vic.
Yeah. Well, if you say it quick enough, who knows?
I noticed you've been doing that. I'll try that.
It's getting faster and faster by that.
Remember the first time we saw it, we just went, you know the guy.
Yeah. Finland.
That's the Finnish skip, isn't
Finnish
it?
fella. Sorry, I made a mistake on that Switzerland-Norway game. I said it was 2-2. It's 4-4 as they played the 8th end.
But we really haven't seen anything in our game, so no rocks in front, no rocks in the rings. Circles are still there.
I don't know if this is Steve's plan, but it's far enough over that Canada will just go around it.
Oh, yeah, it's got to be head of it tight. There's the circles. It's a good chance now for Kevin Martin to go in behind it, and that's exactly, Linda, as you suggested, is what he's going to do. You've got to keep those stones on the center line and tighter than that. Now, there was some movement here earlier. It depends on the weight, of course. And it's far too deep. It may step through. Not quite. Well, it's a chance for Steve Brown to get to the top of the 4-foot right there. full 8 foot, anywhere in there he indicates. Turns his brush around. In-turn draw. George Godfrey.
Line's good.
A lot of room. They're saying.
Well, the weight was pretty good. It just didn't catch the movement.
Didn't break at all, Linda. It really didn't. Kevin can get the inside roll on this. And there's the weight. That's a terrific sequence of moves by the skip to indicate exactly, what you want done. I want you to hit the stone. Right there. I want you to hit that stone, roll in behind that guard, and then he walked back and he indicated the weight by tapping behind the 12-foot circle. And that's how you communicate from one end to the other.
Dan Petrick as we play this 8th end in a 2-2 tie, Canada and the U.S.
And that's exactly what he meant. He wanted like to move that stone a little bit further, but I mean, he got the roll he wanted, which is the most important. That was the number one important thing, was to get that roll. Now, he would have liked to have moved the stone out of the rings to lie 2.
Of course, with that perfect roll, U.S. only has one shot now, and that's to try and draw to the face of the rock that's sitting in the 4-foot.
That's all they've got, Linda. Absolutely. Terrific shot.
This rock has to be in front of the Canadian stone. Steve said even if it's front 8 foot, but in front of that red rock, it's a good shot. Can't be heavy.
Anything but heavy. Let's go back to this end. It's the stone out in front, that yellow stone, the U.S. stone right there, the stationary stone that has caused this whole end to turn around. Now, Stevie Brown had one chance to get in behind it first. He didn't get the movement he required. He now allows Canada. You can see Kevin just going to tap it. There's the weight indication again. Let's play the tap back and the little flip again. If he gets another roll, he sets up the potential 3.
Yeah.
You want to set up the double. What if I hit it on the nose? He's got a double.
Yeah, he's going to knock the double onto his own. I don't know. I think. Let's go then.
Same weight down through?
Yeah, make sure we get it out. If it hangs a bit, we'll take it. I think that's better. I like the inside roll better too, Linda. What do you think?
I agree. I wouldn't want to set up the double takeout. Now they have the situation setting up so nicely. I would
really
definitely go for the inside roll towards the red stone.
He's going to go the other way. He's playing the other roll the other way now.
With this quiet weight, though, it's so hard to roll very far. I think it would be easier to roll towards the red rock than away.
Well, that was his first indication, I think.
But the shorter roll.
Yeah. Yes. He's now gone the other way. He's icing for the other way, so we'll see what happens.
Kevin Park. And the first stone for the Canadian third.
This is plan B, I can tell you, because they actually iced for the other roll.
And in fact, they've curled over so much, huh? But now, is there a double there?
I think there may be, Vic. You can see Stevie Brown looking at the angle. I think if he ices it for that roll in the first place, maybe, Linda, he gets that roll. Let's listen to Kevin, maybe. He obviously knows best here. But
You're going to have a heck of a time getting that thing by this back 4 stone. I thought it would finish at the end there.
Oh, I sure thought flying the roll.
Well, Kevin Martin thinks that one of these red rocks will go back on the Yellowstone at the back 12-foot. It really depends how much of the shot rock that Steve hits first.
Paul Pustovar.
Put it outside a little bit, I think.
Could miss everything.
Goodness gracious. is your game right here. Stevie Brown's going to have to come up with a miracle here. He just got it outside from the very beginning, and he gives it a little push as he lets it go, and it just ran straight down the center line, and the result you can see.
With that weight, too, it would never come back. It just rode the center line.
This is a great opportunity now, really, to close this end off. He'll try and get this stone right down into that area right there. If he does so, he sets up a three-ender for himself. And we know what Mr. Martin can do when he gets a lead.
He'll run.
And not many teams have done it any better, not that I've watched.
Now, we know that certainly Paul Pustovar pushed up his weight, but that little finger push, would that hurt him in that case, too?
Well, I mean, he would just be afflicted outside. That's what he did with it. Yeah,
Hurry. Okay.
Leave it high, they say. Leave it high. Now they'll bring it a bit. It gets behind the guard. Great shot. Good shot, too, Linda. Whoa.
Well, they swept it on and off. The weight was just about perfect. At the end, they decide to get on it to bring it, to make it curl a little more. There they jump on it. Get it to come over, and it's virtually right in front of that one red stone. Steve Brown's going to play it, I think. He's looking for at least a double off this one. Paul looking at it, because if they hit these red ones the wrong way, one could go on the back Yellowstone, the U.S. stone at the back of the house. So they're going to have to be very careful as this one comes down the ice.
It's a tough shot, Linda.
This will be the first stone for the U.S. skip, Steve Brown, as we play this 8th end of a 2-2 tie, and Canada lying 3.
Delivery, because he does not, he doesn't seem to increase his hack speed at all, Linda. You know, he gets all that speed from that final little extension of his arm, you know, and it's a really hard thing to do. If you take a look at the early part of this delivery, now he's throwing, he's potentially throwing, you know, fairly good solid weight. Now watch, no hack speed at all, and right at this very point here, he gets the speed right there with that little bit of a push. I venture to say if you watch him draw, he almost comes from the hack with exactly the same amount of speed as he would have in that shot. Now that's, you know, I'm just...
An arm extension and a little bit of a push into the release is not a bad thing, but he has quite a bit of extra weight added at that moment.
But even those cutters that are using the arm extensions for a little bit of motion, they're using more speed from the hack. Well, Mr. Brown, you better try to sneak something in there some way. I don't know what you've got. There's no inside roll off.
There, try and draw to here, but there's much room. Okay.
Case of trying to cut him down now, Linda?
Well, I think if you're looking at a team like Kevin Martin, even giving up 2 at this point is going to be difficult. And now, if he tries to freeze to these rocks, he won't be shot rock. I don't know how he's going to try and get in there to sit shot. Otherwise, Canada will have a draw for at least 3.
The
doing? Lock and freeze? I guess so.
He's just going to freeze in the face.
Three that way.
Going to give him 3. That's just what Lindy was talking about.
Guaranteed to.
He's going to try and freeze it in here. You heard Kevin say then he's getting his 3 up, a draw for 3. He could try and maybe get it around there a little bit, but it's a very difficult shot. And maybe hope that Kevin misses it. You can get it maybe a quarter around.
So 23.5.
What a series of shots that developed after that rock came up short off the center line, Linda, you know? Steve Brown had one good opportunity to get in there first. Didn't take advantage of it, and the rest is history.
And maybe also that miss by Paul Pustovar on that potential double, yeah, after that.
Of course. Yeah, the double was there. That's right. That's a good point you make, Victor.
Open hit for 6. Just wouldn't come.
What's that song they sing?
Yeah, that was almost an impossible shot. He was just trying something desperate.
I honestly think I would have tried to come around with the other turn in and try and get it maybe a quarter buried and just hope that Kevin missed a wide open hit for 5 or whatever it may have been.
Yeah, Steve Brown knows it's over here.
Yeah, he's got his gloves off, so that's... he'll be searching for the white towel here in a second, I think.
The final stone and the opportunity for Canada and Kevin Martin from the Avenir in Edmonton to open with a first-round win. It's a hit for 6. There it is.
It's over. It's like the knockout punch, isn't it, Vic? No, there's no TKO there, boy. You're on the floor. He put him to the canvas.
So Kevin Martin does what Julie Sutton did in round 1, opens with a win. 8-2 the final. We'll return to Winnipeg in just a minute.